guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Irene and I am a registered dietitian. So as you can probably tell by the title of today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I meal prep. So meal prep is a great way to make sure that you have lots of healthy meals in your fridge and also save you time during the week. So the way that I typically will meal prep is I will plan out all of my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the whole week. And then on Saturday, I will go grocery shopping and buy all those items. Then on Sunday, I'll take about 2 to 3 hours during the day to meal prep my breakfasts and my lunches. So I typically like to make 2 different breakfasts and 2 different lunches. That way I can alternate and I don't get bored of the same thing every day. But if you just want to make one thing for breakfast and one thing for lunch for the whole week, or if you want to also add dinner meal prep into the mix, that is totally fine as well. Do whatever works for you. This week I'm going to be making some egg strata and scones for breakfast, and then for lunch I'll be making bulgogi bowls and lemon ricotta pasta. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to start with is the spinach mozzarella egg strata. So this one requires a little bit of rest time, so for the sake of saving time, we're gonna do this one first. So I've already got all the ingredients laid out here on the table, and I have thawed and kind of drained my spinach, my frozen spinach. So the first thing that we're gonna do is actually saute it with some garlic powder and onion powder. Okay, so I've got my pan here with some oil in it, and then I'm just gonna dump my spinach in. Normally I would do this with fresh spinach, but I wanted to try something new this time, so I'm using frozen spinach. Gonna add a little bit of salt, as well as onion powder. Whoops, that was a little bit too much. And some garlic powder as well. Okay, so now that I have my spinach all sauteed and I got most of the moisture out, so we're gonna start building the strata. So I am gonna put some of the bread in there and then kind of do layers. So I don't typically actually cut the bread, I kind of just rip it into 1-inch-ish pieces. I did about 3 slices of bread, and then I'm gonna put some spinach on it, and then some mozzarella. And I'm also gonna add some of these, they're Morningstar sausage patties, or you can add like whatever other protein you want, or if you don't want extra protein, that's also fine as well. And then I'm gonna go back to the bread. And some more mozzarella. And a couple more of these sausage patties. And also some parm. Okay, so now that we have this part assembled, we're gonna move that out of the way, and actually we're gonna do the egg mixture. So I feel like I maybe added too much bread to that part. A lot of the times when I do meal prep, I will base it off of a recipe, but then also kind of wing it. So it sometimes turns out different from what I intended. And I have never made this specific recipe before, so we're just gonna see how things turn out. So we're gonna do just 4 eggs, and then I will do some egg whites also. It's so hard to open. Sorry, one sec. Okay, so we'll do about 5 egg whites. I'm gonna start with like 2 cups of milk and see how much that gives me. Then I'll season it with some salt, some pepper, and some garlic powder. Then I'm gonna whisk everything together. Once this is all whisked, I'm going to pour everything into this pan right here. I'm hoping that it's not going to overflow because I think I added quite a bit of stuff in here. Okay, I think I may have just like guesstimated the perfect amount of egg liquid mixture. So it's pretty full, but I'm gonna let it sit for about an hour or so for the bread to soak up everything, and then I'll put it in the oven. So in the meantime, we will actually get started on the scones. All right, so now that we've finished with the strata, I put it aside to let it rest for a little bit. We're gonna move on to the white chocolate strawberry scones. So this time I'm following a recipe because I've actually never made scones before, but I'm also deciding that I want to make a couple of substitutions just to make it a little bit more healthy. So we'll kind of see how things go and how it turns out.
Hey, it's future Irene here editing the video, and I just have to pause here and say that I did not end up actually following the recipe, and in fact I veered so off course that it did not turn out the way that it was supposed to be. So don't be like me and just follow the dang recipe.
Sometimes I feel like when I meal prep and I mix in different recipes, it's a hit, but then other times it's sort of a miss. But as long as it's edible, I'm gonna eat it. So to start, I'm going to put in 2, or I guess 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And because I don't feel like getting out another measuring cup, I'm kind of just gonna guesstimate. So that's about 1 3/4 cups, and then I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of whey protein. This is unflavored because I like to have a little bit more protein at breakfast. That's just my personal preference. And then I'm gonna mix in a little bit of sugar. So I forgot to buy granulated sugar, so I only have powdered sugar. So we're just gonna add a little bit less of it than we would of the granulated sugar. Next, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then also some salt. Now, because I don't feel like really measuring things out, I'm just gonna winging it. So we've got our dry ingredients in here, and all we do is just mix this up for now. And you want to make sure that you kind of get any of the big chunks or clumps kind of mixed in and things like that. Then once everything is mixed, you will add in the butter. So I have got a cold stick of butter here. I'm actually going to only do like 3 tablespoons. So the recipe called for 6 tablespoons, but I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons of butter and substitute some of it with Greek yogurt. So you wanna make sure that you cut it into pretty small pieces so that you can like kind of cut it into the dough. So I got my butter in here, and now I'm going to add tablespoons of Greek yogurt. Okay, and then I'm gonna mix it up real good until the butter is just really tiny pieces. So I'm done mixing the flour with the butter, and so there's not really a whole bunch of butter pieces anymore, which is good. And now I'm going to add the cup of sliced strawberries, and then the white chocolate chips. I'm also going to be guesstimating this part here. That's about good enough. And then I'm gonna mix everything together. Okay, so this is mixed together, and now I'm going to mix together the wet ingredients. So I'll set this aside and grab another bowl, and I'll put the 2 eggs in, as well as the milk, and then the vanilla extract. Then I'll mix everything together. And now I'm gonna dump it into the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna mix this all together until a dough forms. Okay, so I mixed everything together and it looks like really wet. Like, I don't think that dough is supposed to look like this. So I'm going to do some improvising and add a little bit more flour and maybe like protein powder, because that's really good at soaking things up. So I'm adding 1 scoop of protein powder, and I'm gonna see how it, I guess, mixes together. Okay, so it's still a bit like a sticky batter, so I'm going to add like a 1/4 cup more of all-purpose flour. Okay, so it is looking much better, but it's still quite a sticky dough, and I don't think I would be able to shape it and cut it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more flour, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Okay, so I think I need to add a little bit more flour, so I'm going to do 1 more 1/4 cup. I don't know if maybe the butter melted too much, or if it was the Greek yogurt, or maybe I had really juicy strawberries, but this is just really wet. So I think I have more or less formed a dough now. So I'm going to turn it out on this cutting board. I'm going to shape it into like a circle, and then cut it into the 8 pieces and then bake it. So I'm just flouring my bench scraper a little bit so that it doesn't stick to the dough as much. So now I'm just transferring them onto a parchment paper lined baking sheet, And I've got the oven preheated to 425, and I'm gonna put it in there once it's done. Okay, so I've got my scones onto the baking sheet. They're not the prettiest, but I think they'll be edible. So they're gonna go in the oven now for about 15 minutes, and we'll check on them later. Okay, so I put the strata in the oven for about an hour at 325, and it baked really nicely. And now we're moving on to the bulgogi bowls. So I'm actually going to be making mine today with impossible meat because I'm not a meat eater. You can definitely make it with ground beef too if you want. That's what I'll be doing for my boyfriend, but you can also make it with slices, so it would be like actual bulgogi, or if you want to change up the protein to tofu or something like that, that's also totally fine. So let's go over to the stove. So I've got my pan here on medium-high heat, and I'm just gonna put my impossible meat in there. And once some of it starts to brown, I'm going to add some bulgogi sauce. So I just got this at my local H Mart, and it's just Korean barbecue sauce, and I'm gonna put a couple of tablespoons into it. So I've just finished cooking impossible meat, and it's all nice and browned, as you can see. So we can go ahead and assemble our bowls. So for the sake of this video not being like an hour long, I have already prepped all of the other items. So I cooked the rice in our Instant Pot, and it's nice and fluffy, and I also have blanched some broccoli, as well as soft boiled some eggs, julienne some carrots, and then I took the kimchi out of the fridge. So I'm just gonna portion out the rice now. So I use a scale to make sure that I don't like overly fill one bowl and then like not have enough for the next bowl. So I don't really like calorie count or anything like that. This is mostly just so that I know how much is going in each one and can better gauge and make sure that they're all even. Got the rice done. Now let's do the beef. Okay, next I want to put some broccoli in there for our veggies. Okay, then I'll put a little bit of carrots. Now I'm also going to add some kimchi. And then to each of them, I'm going to add a soft-boiled egg. And then optional, if you want to, you can also drizzle some gochujang on there. I'm personally not going to put some on mine because I have a low spice tolerance, but this is also really good on it. So these are the finished bulgogi bowls. They've got lots of colorful veggies on there, protein, and they're also super delicious and great for meal prep. Okay, so now that we've finished the bulgogi bowls, we're moving on to the next thing, which is the lemon ricotta pasta. So I have the pasta already boiling on the stove. So While that's cooking though, we're going to make the ricotta sauce. I actually just realized that we don't have as much ricotta as I thought that we did. And that's okay, like sometimes that totally happens. This is like a very realistic like meal prep video, I guess. Sometimes I forget to buy things, or I think we have more of something than we actually have, so that's fine, I'll just deal with it. I guess I might add some extra mozzarella instead to kind of make up for the cheese part of it at least. So then I'll add some parm, and I'm gonna season it with a little bit of salt and some pepper. As well as some garlic powder. You could definitely use like actual garlic here, but I personally don't like it, so I just use garlic powder. Then I'm also gonna add some olive oil, probably like 1 to 2 tablespoons. If you haven't caught on by now, I don't like really measuring things. I kind of just go by feeling. So we'll mix this up. And then we'll add in the lemon part of the lemon ricotta. So now I have lemon juice in here, and you just mix everything up. Okay, so pasta's cooking and we're down to the last minute, maybe a little bit over. I'm gonna put the kale in there and let it just kind of cook or blanch. Gonna take out some of the pasta just so it doesn't get all soggy. Okay, while the kale is gonna finish cooking, I'm actually gonna just move it to the back burner and then start on the shrimp. So I have some shrimp that I have thawed, and I'm just gonna cook it really quick. Alright, since the shrimp is almost done cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the pasta as well as the sauce. The kale seems to be done too, so I'm going to take the rest of that and put it in here. So I added a little extra mozzarella, parmesan, and some olive oil, and I'm gonna give that a good toss, and then I think it'll be done. So I put the pasta in the containers, and that pretty much concludes our meal prep for this week. So I hope this gave you some good ideas and inspiration for meal preps that you can do at home. If you found this video fun or helpful, please be sure to give it a like and also subscribe, and leave a comment down below telling me what I should make next. Bye.